Ok, urmează ultima prezentare.
Testing. Bună ziua. It's the end of the Romanian. Apologies. But thanks for sticking around with me. I know this is the last presentation of the day, and I know it's such a beautiful day outside, and everybody's dying to get out there. But really excited to talk to everybody today. And we'll talk about trust in AI, which is a kind of an oxymoron a little bit lately. So excited to show you what we've got. So I am Chief Product Officer here at Arcanna, and actually the CEO and the COO, both co-founders, are here too, Peter and Christian. So if you haven't met them, definitely go ahead and meet them. But I joined about 8 months ago, and we've really started to focus really heavily on AI in the SOC and how we have a message that's really clear. We are actually, late last year, given Gartner Cool Vendor, which is a really, really big honor. And we have some global MSSPs and other large enterprises who are customers already, and we're excited to kind of go into the next level with the company. So if you've talked to me, you'll know that I'm very much a cyber practitioner. This is the first time that I'm a product officer, but I have very much been in the field doing the hard work. I've built threat research teams, threat hunting teams. I've built detection libraries for vendors. And I understand the problems that we've seen in cybersecurity pretty acutely myself. And in the time that I've been in the game, there are a lot of different problems. But the ones that I'm very familiar with that are, despite every single paradigm saying they're going to solve them, not solving them, are these two. First, the volume of alerts just continues to increase because, hey, when I started my career, cloud was new, and now everybody uses cloud like it's absolutely, part of the day-to-day. Now we have LLMs and Gen AI and all these other things, and it just, every single time a new paradigm comes out, you have more and more alerts, and you usually don't have more people to deal with those alerts. And the second part of that is, vendors will come out and fill those gaps, because we need those gaps filled, but they'll create their own detections, and their detections and their view of what's important doesn't necessarily match what is important to you. And the expertise that you have, the knowledge that you have in your organization is very specific to your organization. What matters to your team, to your CISO, to your board of directors might not matter to somebody else, even in the same region, in the same vertical. I wanted to kind of lay out the land of the SOC automation journey, and this is the last 10, 15, 20 years. And everybody started, before we had any sort of automation, with manual work. And if you get hit by a bus, then it's over. Like there's no other person to take over. If the number of alerts double, you have no recourse for that. So people started writing things down, and that's great. To take things from your head to paper or to digital paper, great. That gets you closer, but there's still a lot of gap there. And where we see, when we talk to prospects and to customers, where we see most people are today are with security orchestration and response, or SOAR. And that's a really, really great place to be, because you can take some of those processes that you have and you can automate them. And that allows you to scale, whether you have 1 or 100 people in your SOC who are doing that work. But there's some challenges with that. First, it's really hard to automate all the different things that you might want to do. And when things change, because tools change, configurations change, APIs change, all these things that are part of your process, when they change, it breaks. And maintaining that stuff is really hard. We have one of our customers, they use SOAR and Arcanna, and they have, I think I remember, 400 different playbooks, and there are 2 automation engineers that kind of manage the global infrastructure, and like they can't take a day off. If something breaks, they're in for a bad day, week. So thinking about where we are right now, it's definitely an inflection point with AI. And now we get into assistants. In the last 2-3 years, after generative AI kind of really became public and interesting, ChatGPT kind of changed everything for everybody, probably in this room and outside of this room. We had the ability to communicate with our data, with our systems, and that allows you to have more bespoke or flexible workflows. You can now ask those questions and understand things better. But when you have an assistant that you have to talk to all the time, you still have to talk to it. It's not automatic. It's not doing things on your behalf. It's saving you time, absolutely, and it's allowing you to ask questions without needing to know query language, but that's a different level of automation. You still have to do it yourself. Okay, so then we get into, I was at RSA 2 weeks ago, and literally every vendor and every part of security is talking about agentic this and agentic that, and with good reason, because agents offer a lot of really, really great features. One, it takes what you can do maybe with an assistant and automate it. It makes you more flexible. You could give it agency, hence agents, and that's really great stuff, but I don't know about you, but I don't want to be too creative in my workflows when I'm talking about incident response or alert triage or prioritization, because too much flexibility is a bad thing there, right? Creativity is not necessarily the golden standard there. The other aspect is you have a lot of knowledge internally, and that's what we talked about with alert prioritization. What matters to you isn't something that some vendor is going to know exactly. And so being able to learn that knowledge in a scalable way, rather than saying, hey, every time you communicate with the agent in a human in the loop kind of path, hey, this is how I actually think about that. Whether or not it's actually learning things is one question, the way that you want it, but also you can't wholesale give it a whole bunch of information about your processes, tools, ways that you interact with things and what things matter in that data, such that it can learn, oh, this is how that team thinks about things. And that's a really big problem, right? Because I don't know about you, but when I go back and forth with ChatGPT or Claude or something like that, I don't love having to tell it, hey, this is how I think about this, and this is what I needed to know. Change that. It's annoying, right? So if you had a way to kind of instill and diffuse that knowledge directly into it, really, really valuable. Last thing, I don't think anybody in this room has said, wow, ChatGPT is so fast. It can do some really great things for you, but going back and forth with it, it takes some time. And that is slow, but also the expense of it, right? Tokens are expensive, especially if you're thinking about high volume things like alert triage. Okay, so this was created by my dear friend ChatGPT, and ultimately what I ask is, do we think that AI agents are the solution, or are they part of the solution? Now, we're not anti-agent. We are very much embracing them, but we think about them in a different way, and we think there's some things missing with AI agents just as they are. The way that we think about it, and sorry if this is a little bit hard to read, but the way that we think about it is that local knowledge and expertise of your team, of how you think about problems, what priorities you have, those kinds of things are really important to instill in the agents. And so whether you're using a SOAR or an assistant that you're going back and forth with, or an agent or multi-agents, all of those things we expect to exist and continue to exist in different ways for different reasons. But having that knowledge helps you to do things faster, better, stronger, more correctly to your environment in a way that you can't necessarily do without having that knowledge in a fast, easy to access, explainable way. We have what we call our decision layer, which is that box at the bottom that is very hard to read on this screen. And essentially what we have are different deep learning but not generative AI models, and those are private, local, and super fast, seconds to get a response on anything. And they give you the ability to customize how you think about things from, hey, I have EDR data, I have IAM data, I have cloud data, I have identity data, I have all these different types of data, and I want to think about them differently and maybe have different use cases, prioritization and triage as examples. And I want to teach the machine, essentially, to do the things that my entire SOC would do. Build a digital clone of the team. One thing that I didn't highlight here, but at the top we have analyst feedback. And the interesting part about that is we're very much in your workflows. So we have people who use SOAR with us, and they use SOAR with a playbook step to talk to us. and they never actually leave their workflow. They work directly with us, directly with their SOAR playbook and interact directly there. Okay, some of the advantages of having this deep learning kind of model that's convolutional neural networks is that we're fast, right? 15 to 30 seconds is actually a little bit high. One of our customers this week said they 4.5 seconds for something that took them previously 15 minutes to do with their team. So every single 15-minute thing that they had to do is now 4.5 seconds, 99 and change % faster. The consistency of being able to have an entire team of SOC analysts making similar decisions, making decisions that make sense, whether it's the same team, whether it's teams evolving, whether it's a different shift, if you have a follow the sun 24/7 model or you're trying to get there. Another way that you add functionality by leveraging these. And we're CPU based, which is something a little bit special. Everything right now is about GPU. We can actually do this functionality on CPU. So fast, easy, cheap, and private. So we're not training data and sending it to the cloud. It's not being used to train other models. It's just your data. And we usually do on-prem or in a cloud like AWS. We have a marketplace offering as an example. Okay. I mentioned that we are definitely looking at agents and we're focused on how do we interact with them, both our own agents and others' agents, because we have a different way of thinking about things. Again, I walk the RSA floor and I spend a lot of time seeing what competitors are doing, and what we see is just about everybody is doing something that's closed. They have a closed source model because that's their intellectual property and it makes sense for them. But it's not our intellectual property here. It's one thing that we can do on our platform that enables you to do better with the tools, the experience, the knowledge that you have. So what we do is, if you think about it this way, you have our decision models, that thing that I talked about, deep learning, local convolutional neural networks. They filter out, let's say, 80% of that activity so that you're just left with the things that you're not sure about because the model didn't figure it out for you. There wasn't a high confidence drop or escalate. When you're left with those, that's when you want to do some of this more agentic capability, whether it's an assistant where you're talking back and forth, whether it's saying, hey, go and do an end-to-end workflow, or it's something else, right? Going farther towards having autonomous agents. We're building on top of Anthropic's model context protocol, which is super, super open. It's getting really wide support. OpenAI actually supports it now. And the Google's A2A agentic platform functionality is also leveraging it. And it's, we think, the right way because it's transparent. You can look at it, you can edit it, you can build your own server in a couple of minutes, actually, for model context protocol. And what it allows you to do is interact with all of your tools, whether there are decision models, which we have MCP servers for, or they're Elastic, or another SIM, a SOAR, your virus total, and other threat intelligence, all these different tools, you can interact with them in a really natural language way. So we have the ability to do free-form investigation and then what we call an end-to-end investigation. But it's kicked off through when you have something that you want to investigate farther. So we can pivot to the video really quick. And mostly what this is going to be a demo of one of those end-to-end investigations where we start with an alert, and we'll see if we get the pauses that we want. But where we start with an alert and we essentially say, go and investigate this using tools. This is using all the data that's in Arcanna through the decision models that we have, but you can also update this and edit it so that you can maybe use it with your Elastic or your Splunk, etc. So you can really interact with all those things. Okay, apparently we don't have the video. So we'll have to do that demo some other time. Maybe just next slide. And I'm happy to do that demo for anybody who wants to come by. Okay, so demo aside, we'll do that afterwards. The last thing that I wanted to highlight is the way that we're thinking about the problem, right? We already highlighted SOAR and assistants and agents, and you can access our decision models through each of those things. But lastly, ultimately, you want to learn from those workflows. You want to make sense out of things so that you don't have to keep doing them over and over again and not knowing what your next step is, because you have to think about it. Think about how we can learn what your usual next step is so that we can automate that and help you to make that available without needing to come up with it on the spot. So taking that information, and then of course, the decision models themselves, pushing the feedback that you have when you're looking at the results of that right back into our models. What ideas that you came up with or agree with from the agents, go ahead and push that right back in, and then you have that information to continue building on that digital clone of your team. We think it's faster, more trustworthy, and of course, local access to data. Okay, so with that, if anybody has any questions or comments, happy to hear them. Thank you.